All right, guys, you all set up?
Yeah, I should be.
Yeah.
When do we start recording on Audacity?
A couple of minutes. Yeah, I'm just getting some things set up.
I mean, you can start.
Who just
Oh.
joined?
We are Chipper.
Chipper?
Embrace the hive mind.
Hello.
Shipper?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Travelers podcast. My name is Logic Mage,
I am Super QGS.
And Bramblery.
and joining us today are our two partners in crime, Meepcom and Alekaetor.
Yo.
Hey,
Welcome.
this episode is completely dedicated to the spawn wall, and how that came into being.
Our little escapade at 0-0.
It was a very interesting week.
So, I don't think I was exactly around for the very start of the wall, because I remember I was just, I was for the wall, but not the actual project, because I remember Meepcom just messaged me with some message about how they're going to kill Slippy, and I was like, at first I was just like, easy, cowboy. Like, calm down. But then he's like, well, but Logic's leading it. And I'm like, okay, if Logic's leading it, then maybe this is a good idea. So then I asked Logic about it and got added to a group chat.
That's kind of funny. Yeah, it kind of as I explored in the video that we made about it, which was very much a group effort, by the way. Like there was a lot of work that got put into that, just not even from me, but from a lot of people. Yeah, it started with something very small. You had Slippy, just being kind of cheeky, being kind of coy about what secrets the shard had, and it just spiraled out into this big thing. Originally, we were thinking like, okay, we'll just do like a little layer around spawn, but then eventually, we were like, well, he could just teleport in. We maybe we should do 10 layers as opposed to one. It's just insane. It kept on building and building.
So yeah, during our initial planning stage, it was all of us, and then we were thinking of ideas because we were trying to track down Slippy and we were trying to kill him. But then we decided that we didn't really know, we couldn't exactly get to exactly where he was, so we decided to intercept him we knew where he was going though, which was 0-0. So we were going to intercept him there. I think our first plan with the wall was just to do the southern and western side, and not even surround the whole thing. We were just going to do those two sides so that he would meet it and we could intercept him there. But it just kept expanding. And then once we actually saw how much wood the bots could produce, it became even crazier because we realized how much we could do.
That's right. It was like an exponential amount compared to what we'd seen before, and what we kind of had predicted. It was producing so much wood. And I think it's actually very justified what Terrago had to end up doing, to fences and wood, after what he'd seen what we did.
Yeah, definitely. So here's the thing. So we made a base that I don't know if the coordinates are public or not, but we made a base, and we were originally going to fill up a bunch of storage units with wood so that we could build the wall right before Slippy was supposed to get there. But what we realized is that all of our storage that we had filled up in like an hour because of how efficient the wood bots were. So we quickly realized, like, okay, what do we do? Because we have more wood than we have space for wood, basically.
Yeah, it was definitely filled like very quickly, and I mean, yeah, like I remember it was kind of my idea to wait until like the last second to build it, but that ended up being impossible like very quickly because like we had like 8 storage units and they were filled up like you said, like within an hour or two.
It was crazy. And here's how trees work is how they used to work is every hour it would do a pass. And so okay, the travelers just split up into chunks, which is basically, it's similar to Minecraft chunks, except instead of 16 by 16, I believe it's 100 by 100. If there's not any players in those chunks, then every hour any trees that were cut down in that chunk will just respawn. So that means that we could go out every hour and we would never run out of trees because they would respawn so quickly that we didn't have to worry about the waiting from the grow back or waiting for like having them be more scarce the more we mined for trees, basically.
That's right. It was like a constant stream. It never slowed down.
Yeah. I think it's been changed to 5 hours, but honestly, that's still pretty low. I was expecting it to be like, because everything else, it's like, cities, I think they respawn in like 52 days or something. I don't know if I'm making that number up or not. Your stuff stays there for 60 days, but then trees respawn every hour. So it's really unlike everything in the Travelers.
Also, how many planks you can get from a tree changed too, didn't it?
Yeah. So instead of you, this is kind of our fault. So sorry, everyone that's now has to get a ton of more sticks. But it used to have a random number between 1 and 3, and now it's just 1 stick from each tree that you get. And also, I think the wood block recipe has changed from 30 to 45 sticks.
Yeah, sorry about anyone who's getting into this casually and just wants to make a wooden fence base. So yeah, and as I keep reiterating, the video that we made, it represents just the smallest fraction of all of the planning that went into this project. There were so many road bumps that we ran into. We had to deal with problems with the bot, which Super actually made partially from scratch just for this project, which was insane. This is like something out of 2B2T or something like that. It's incredible that we got that far. We had to deal with all the mountains. We'll talk about that in a
Oh,
bit. How we
yeah.
had like code names for them and everything. It was that was pretty funny. But yeah,
So
there was like hundreds and possibly thousands of messages that went around just in that little private group chat for all the planning.
Yeah.
should I? Oh, sorry, you go first.
I was gonna ask, like, maybe we should like kind of walk through a little bit more clearly how this started, like how we all individually like got involved with this. I think that could be interesting.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
totally. So
Um,
it started with I think
Me.
Bramblery. Oh,
Well,
go on, Meep.
I thought I was the one who started it because originally what happened is you know how I got into the argument over Slippy about what happens if you break the life anchor. Um and then so I went into like a PM battle. So then I was trying to use Alec as a double agent against him in this like completely useless argument. But then eventually we were trying to get what the object was that he got because we didn't know it was a shard at that point. But then we did figure out it was a shard, although that was 10 seconds before he made it public. But then, I kind of just got you all involved. Like, first, I messaged Logic, and then Super and Bram, and then we kind of just all made this group chat.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was about to say that or rather, I was messaged by Blamberry going like, "Yeah, it's kind of annoying that he's not sharing what the actual item description is." But now that I think about it, you were kind of the penultimate reason that this whole thing started, and it kind of spiraled out from there. So yeah, as you said, you kind of got into that argument, and then you started messaging him. Me and Blamberry started talking about it, and then he was obviously the one who suicided, go back to the island.
yeah,
Yeah, and then me, you, Meepcom, and Alekaetor all kind of got hooked up on this network. And then finally, I think Meepcom started at the Woodchippers chat. And then Super joined in too. I think, yeah, he talked about that earlier.
Yeah, Meepcom was the first that I heard about this whole escapade happening.
yeah. There
Yeah.
were a whole bunch of moving parts that just kind of started all at once. Like I was pretty surprised that that Meep was doing anything, and then Alec was also helping Meep, and then me and Logic were trying to kill him. It got crazy pretty fast.
It
Yeah.
did.
I know Slippy's probably listening to this. I just want to say, no hard feelings, man. I think what's funny is that we went this entire project with like the intent of murdering him, and then not once did we ever like come across his main at all. We never actually met with the man himself. And yeah, most of this happened when he was not aware of it. So
And then I don't even know. I'm not sure he might have been. I'm not sure if he was even aware until the video came out.
yeah, he knew it was there, but he didn't know that it was like specifically for him. Like he was the reason that it kind of came into being.
And the funniest thing about this whole thing is that this all happened while Taragadud was on vacation. So the teacher
Yeah.
walks out of the classroom for a minute, and the whole class goes insane.
Like we had a week. That was one of the most insane weeks I think I've ever had playing this game. It was constant stuff happening.
Definitely.
How many alts did we end up having on the server at once?
Oh, okay. I don't know at once. I'm not sure, but I kept track of all my alts. I think I have like 30 accounts now.
Yeah, I think Super put it in the YouTube comment below the video. But yeah, there was
Yeah.
a lot of alts running at once.
I think I normally ran about 11 or 12 at once. I don't think I normally ran any more than that. I might have run 20 at once one time, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, that was like super active construction. We were just pumping out walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only had 3 other alts because my computer can't handle more than 3. So yeah.
I have a pretty good computer, and I was considering like stealing my family members' computers just to run more Travelers bots on them. Never got to that point, but that would be funny.
Yeah, I only ended up making 2 that whole time.
Just 2 bots can crank out a ton of wood, or at least they could before the patch. Should I delve into a bit about how the bot was made?
Yeah, totally. I think the technical side of the whole thing is very interesting.
All right. So the it all started in pre-release, where I wanted to make a base at spawn, and I think there's actually screenshots of that still. I think Logic posted one to the Discord. But basically, I wanted to make a wood bot so that I could just leave it running and get a ton of wood. So it was really badly made, and it wasn't. It was just made for like a script for me to use. So I kind of had to upgrade it a lot to make it actually releasable for other people to use. But that's where that started. And I actually started building a wall around spawn in pre-release, but I only covered about like a bit more than one side of that. And I also used duping because the bots would get stuck in pre-release on trees, and I was like, okay, why are they getting stuck on trees? And then I realized that when you mine those trees, the trees don't go away. So those were just sources of infinite wood. That has been patched, but that kind of inspired us to use wood bots for this wall too.
We called that one the wood dupe. Which
Yeah.
is, it's pretty apt. And I think that seeing that base was kind of what inspired, or rather, kind of gave me confidence to pursue this one, because I saw that, with bots you can just produce an insane amount of wood, and I saw that you done that with like maybe 5. I don't know however many else it was, but
I probably did like three to 4 bots.
I think it was like the east side was just covered with like rooms, and it would look like a complex fortress. So I was thinking the same kind of concept would apply.
I remember it was super late at night when I found this out, and it killed me for a second because I realized you couldn't place walls. This was in the actual release wall construction. I realized you couldn't place walls on mountains, and for a second I thought that like our whole plan was just done, because we could do probably 10 layers of a square around spawn, but having to go around mountains would just be insane, especially if we wanted to do multiple layers.
Yeah, I remember you sending that message, and my heart dropped because you said there was a problem, and it immediately clicked. It was the mountains, and my heart just dropped. I'm like, okay, we're screwed now. But...
It was my heart dropped too when I realized that. Then I was just like, okay, there's got to be a way around this. We can trace around the mountains, which just seemed even more insane because we already had this insane plan of doing a 10-layer thick wall, but now we were tracing around mountains, and that was just. But we did it. We got 2 of our 3 planned stages done.
It's pretty crazy it got off the ground at all, just given how many roadblocks there were, even initially.
Yeah. I remember when we fully encased spawn, it was just like visiting the monument and being like, we own this. This is ours, and everything around is ours.
And then Super kept bringing up that one Taraka message where he said that big bases are how you know someone's mega rich. And then,
Spawn is our base.
Yeah,
remember,
we made Spawn our base.
Spawn belongs to the wood chippers.
So in kind of creating or plotting it, we had a Brian recalls this as a 3-stage plan, but I think it was actually 4-stage. So number 1 was just encasing the entire radius of spawn and every tile that wasn't a mountain. So it was just a 1-layer thing. Stage 2 was tracing around the mountains, just getting that all set up. Stage 3 was getting a second layer that was 9 tiles placed forward from the other layer. So you would have to either teleport twice, break 2 walls, or break one wall then teleport. And then the final stage was just filling it in, and which we didn't actually ended up completing before Bram managed to get back. So it's kind of fallen to the wayside now. But it's like there are some sections you can see that are filled in.
Yeah. So just to explain in depth, why we didn't just do one layer is because this is a slight spoiler, but there's a item in the game called a personal teleporter, and when you feed it, I think it's 3 energy cells, or is it 5?
It's 1 cell actually.
Oh, it's 1 cell. Okay.
Mhm.
So it takes 1 energy cell, but if you do that, then you can teleport, I think 5 blocks, or what? No, it's 10. It's 10, right?
10 tiles.
Okay, sorry. But you can teleport 10. So that means if we did a layer, then if he wanted to just teleport through, he could just use 1 energy cell and teleport through the blocks. So if we did 2 layers that are far enough apart, then he would have to teleport past the first wall and then teleport past the second wall. But if we did 10 layers, he wouldn't be able to teleport at all because there's nowhere he could teleport. Because if it teleports you 10 spaces forward and there's a block there, it's not going to work. That's also why there's not corners, because you can't teleport diagonally.
So I think aside from just getting everything collected, biggest problem was definitely the mountains. So in order to actually kind of make it fun, just tracing around the whole thing, as I mentioned before, we gave all the mountains names. So they're all they're all named bodies.
So I wonder if we could put up screenshots for this part, but
yeah, that'd be really good.
The names that we came up with are there's one at the very top that's called Top Hat. One at the bottom I think we called Bump. Then there's one called Comet. Logic named the one Relicanth. I think that's how you pronounce it, after a Pokemon.
Yeah, because it looked like a Relicanth, so just kind of what popped in my head.
And then there was Death Mountain, which just looked huge, like it was going to be a huge pain, but then Meep finished it in like a day, which was awesome.
And that was only with like 1 alt too.
That's crazy. I thought that was going to take like super long, but then you just knocked it out. And then there was Cluster, which was just like a few big mountains together.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest one. That was when we finished last, if I recall.
Yeah. So I think actually while we were constructing, Murph actually found our wall, but surprisingly no one else did. We thought that it was going to be found like the first day we started building, but it lasted a while before anyone really found out about it.
Oh yeah, I remember meeting in there with my main. We had a rather lengthy conversation. We could actually throw that up on the screen now, if that's possible. I'll send the text file over.
All right.
I remember I found this funny. He messaged me about the wall and asked if it was mine, and I said like no, but can you keep me updated? And then he had that whole conversation with you, Logic, and he just never messaged me again about it.
Oh yeah, he mentioned you too. Murph's a cool dude, by the way. Shout out to you if you're watching this.
Yeah, no, I just found that funny. I was like, he really just didn't say anything to me again.
But yeah, I think he might have been the first player that we knew of, personally, to actually find the wall. There were some others I know. I think Lightning found it fairly quickly too, and then they informed Slippy eventually. But that was past when.
Yeah, it was like we finished stage with we got the shard in before it was it was never public knowledge while we were actively constructing it, and we were there for like a week with this giant structure around spawn, and it took ages for anyone to notice.
So do we want to talk about that final part just a little bit? Getting the shard in, because I think that was the trippiest part of the whole project.
So we had quite a few complications during our construction because a lot of accounts started attacking our construction accounts while we were building the wall, and they were all named names similar to Slippy's Travelers account. So we suspected that he knew about the wall and was trying to sabotage it, and it was actually very effective because we couldn't build, because even if we won combat, it would take a bunch of valuable time, and we wouldn't be able to construct the wall because he could just keep attacking us and locking us into combat, and he would actually beat us in combat a lot of the time too. because our bots, or not bots but accounts, a lot of the time just had walls. We didn't worry about giving them weapons or anything, so they were not super good in combat. They also had maxed out carry instead of like any useful fighting skills. So basically we kept getting owned, and at one point I think we were actually locked out of our own wall, and these accounts were patrolling the outside. So even to construct the wall, we would have to infiltrate our own wall and then begin construction. So it was pretty difficult. Because we were locked out of our own wall, we kind of had to sneak Bram's account with the shard into the wall, because there were constant patrols the days before. So we knew that whoever was guarding the wall, likely Slippy, was definitely going to have his eyes on anyone that's coming in. So we came up with a super convoluted and overcomplicated plan that I think at first only Bram and I knew about.
No. I think you're missing the first part of the plan that only me
Oh,
and
yeah.
Logic know about.
You're right.
So, what happened was, I suspected that when I arrived, there would be an attempt on my life. But, so I had an ult sent to my main account on its way back, and I asked Logic to give me a boat to do this. So I took the boat, and I switched the shard off to an alt account, and then sent it, like, a bit away from the main, and sent that account up towards spawn as well, hoping to cause a distraction with my main account, and then sneaking in with the alt. That was, like, the first part of the plan. And then, once the patrols started up, and things got a little bit, like, more dicey, then I asked Super to help, and then, yeah. If you want to talk about that part of it.
Yeah, so at this point, we actually did not have easy access to the wall. If we wanted to get into 0-0, because we already had 2 layers around spawn, and because a lot of our bots had been killed, our doors were blocked off and things like that. So we actually had no easy way into spawn. So we had to kind of prepare what we were going to do. So
the reason for that was kind of a combination of factors. One was, as Super said, the enemy, who we assumed was Slippy, was blocking off doors and such. The other problem was some of the doors. I think you named it metadata. The actual password, it was ended up getting wiped. We had no idea why that was happening, and I think
Yeah.
that might still be an issue. So that might be up to Shiraga to do. Again, we don't really have any specifics on why it's doing that, but it might be because it's somewhere in your spawn. That might have something to do with it.
I think it was because the server was, like, crashing so much. Like, I feel like it.
Oh yeah, that was before like the memory bug. It was like just crashing constantly. It was getting worse and worse and worse.
The thing that's bricked Slippy's account, like, messed up a function that was supposed to clear houses and cities, and so instead it just kept crashing the server whenever it hit its limit. But anyway, so because we had no easy way into the spawn area, we had to make a super convoluted plan. So on the eastern side of the wall, there's both Death Mountain and Cluster. So the line gets really complicated. It kind of goes in and out and in and out. You can't, on most of the other walls, you can kind of go in a straight line and look at the whole thing. But on that wall, you kind of have to turn a lot to look at everything. So it would be a lot harder to patrol and kind of survey. So we decided to pick that spot as where we wanted to sneak in. I think the holes should actually be viewable on the map. I took some pictures of them too. But basically, we found a spot. There's kind of a crevice in between Death Mountain and Cluster, where the wall kind of is going out from these mountains and then going back in towards 0-0 and then going out again for the next mountain.
Coincidentally, that was also where I met Murph. That was where he showed up. So a lot of stuff happened there.
But right there, we figured, because that's like, it's kind of a crevice, we figured it would be harder for anyone to patrol there. So we decided to put I actually found a hole that Logic made way early on. It was in the first layer of the wall. He made it on one of the axes. It was near a city, and I remember he put in the Discord like, "Hey, no one fill in this hole. It's so we can get in and out." but I guess that hole was never found. And so because that hole was never found, seeing that made me think, okay, it's been there since the beginning of it and it's never been found. That means this is probably a good spot to break in, because that means no one will find another hole that's made. So then I made a hole on the second layer wall near the first layer, and we kind of made a pathway. I made this like the day before our plan was actually going to be. So our actual plan was that we'd have 3 accounts that would meet about 300 to 500 east of the wall. I forget exactly where we met. But one would be Bram's account with the shard. Then he would have another account that would have a door, and then I would be there too. And so the reason we needed a door was because if he got within 100 of 0, he was going to be safe. And we could make sure that no one was coming into the crevice. We could survey that. But we couldn't be sure that no one was coming out from 0. So if he went in and someone came out at the same time, then we would be in trouble. So we had to put a door on the wall so that no one could actually sneak out. So the plan was that I would go in the crevice first. If someone was there, I would get them to chase me away and lock them into combat. No one was there, luckily, so I didn't have to do that. I kept a lookout and told Bram to send in his ult. He then sent in his ult, and he put a door on the first layer, and we both kind of kept a lookout. And then we didn't actually face any complications, but Bram was then able to sneak in with his main account and open the door, and then once he crossed through that door, he was safe, and we knew that we could get to the monument successfully.
I really can't overstate how trippy the whole experience was just getting it in. There were enough delays with getting Bram in that originally we were thinking it was going to be around 6 p.m. he'd get in. It ended up being around 12 o'clock, and it edged on 1 a.m. in the morning. So we had the 4 of us. So we had actually no, originally it was just 3 because we were worried about people leaking information. So we had Bram, me, and Super, and we were in this little thing called like the wood chipper's inner ring, and oh god, it was all at night, and we're all tired, and we're all seeing things. There were so many spooks. We were I think Bram was streaming it. Yeah, and then occasionally he'd be like, "That account moved towards me," as he was like, ending up near 0. I'm like, "Oh man, not after all this."
I swear to God, one of the accounts did move. Like, I would bet money on it, but I don't know.
And like, yeah, it just again, for anyone who's not too familiar with how the shard mechanics work, you go to negative 500. No, it's negative 500, and then you get the shard there, and you go back. The whole process takes 14 days.
It's not negative 500.
Oh, sorry, no, sorry. Negative 500,000. Negative 500,000. It takes 7 days to get there, 7 days to get back to spawn. So it took about 14. Normally it takes 14 days to get there, but Bram suicided, so it only took about 7. So if he got killed, or Slippy somehow took the shard, he would have a huge advantage getting in first. And either that, or we would have to somehow figure out how to get back there, and get another shard within 7 days.
So yeah, if he was killed, then not only would Slippy be in possession of the shard, but we would also be back 14 days from where we were.
Yeah. Because I reset my anchor closer to spawn, like a few hours away from spawn. So it wasn't even at the corner anymore.
Yeah, and if you watch the video, you see the exact moment when Bram gets in the protection radius. You see, like, I let out like this exasperated sigh. That's not acting. I was genuinely like relieved. It was incredible.
It was so late and so intense. It was just nothing went wrong, but like it felt like anything could go wrong at any moment. Our plan was super convoluted, but it was just made to maximize safety. It felt like a space mission. Like we had all these protocols and stuff just so that nothing can possibly go wrong. But we still felt like anything could go wrong at any time. It was pretty amazing.
Right. So at that point, we linked it back up in the main chat and got everybody in the call. So all 5 of us. And then we approached the monument. So Bram, you should tell us a bit more about that.
Okay, so we got back into the main chat, and, you know, I knew everything was all good. And it like, the whole time, like, I think Super said it a few times, like, during that call, like, it felt too quiet, like, nothing was happening. So it felt like something could still somehow go wrong. But, obviously at that point it was impossible. And we head over towards the monument. I think, like, Super was, like, pretty much along the side of me, and I go to enter the monument, and then an account exits the monument and tries to attack me, which didn't work because there's a safe zone. It was one of the accounts that had been attacking us that whole time, and I end up just going inside the exiting the interaction, going inside the monument, and I throw the shard up, and yeah.
And then that's how we got the clue.
We got the clue. Well, actually, I guess if you're considering the jungle thingy to be the clue, this is just another step. We solved the riddle. We solved it in like a couple of minutes because it was really easy. But yeah.
But then after we got the monument after we got the shard to the monument, excuse me, we had a plot twist. And Alec, if you would want to talk about that, you can.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, the plot twist was that those accounts were not Slippy's accounts. They were my alts to look like Slippy's accounts. And yeah, all of that was just part of my own plan. Well, it was not really a plan. It was just trying to add some spice to the situation, but might have gone too far with killing you guys too much, especially Meep. Sorry. But yeah, I did. I totally took the high range teleporter specifically to make you think that Slippy was going to use it to teleport in.
I don't think we actually we talked about that. So at one point, one of his alts killed my main, which had practically every known special item in the game at the time. So obviously that was a bit worrying. I got back to my body, everything was there except for the high range teleporter, and we're like, oh no. So again, for anyone who's unfamiliar with this item, spoiler alert by the way, the way the high range teleporter works is it consumes 5 cores, which are very, very expensive to get. And it teleports you in a set distance in any cardinal direction at 10,000 tiles. So we were thinking that Slippy would go to a direction or a position that was 10,000 tiles out and then just teleport in. So you'd bypass all the wall stuff.
And as much as we would like to, making a 10,000 thick wall is probably not super doable. So we were kind of nervous that Slippy had access to a high range teleport and was going to be able to bypass our wall completely. But it was actually just Alekaetor, and Slippy had no access to said teleporter.
Yeah, he had no idea about what I was doing. You guys didn't know this, but I was actually trying to intercept him on much sooner on his path to spawn. What I wanted to do was actually find him and kill him before he got to spawn, take the shard, bring it back to spawn before anyone knew about anything, and I don't know.
And use the high range teleport to get in. That's smart.
Yeah, I wasn't actually going to. I wasn't actually going to do it myself. I was going to clue everyone in on the kind of do it together, but
okay,
it was.
Yeah, I should mention that was kind of our backup plan if the wall didn't work out. We were thinking
I really thought I was going to get his location at one point.
How
Yeah,
close did
you were
get?
doing some smart social engineering.
Yeah, how close did you get to getting his location?
Well, he almost gave me. He did give me quite a lot of info, but I think he did. I think he did get suspicious and kind of stopped
Yeah,
talking.
because he's kind of just like, hey, you're starting to get buddy with the guy who suddenly has one of the most hot items in the game.
Yeah.
So, full reason to be suspicious.
But yeah, and with the stuff that happened at spawn, I think at one point I thought it would be funny if I just like took shards from everyone and then just kept them a bit away from spawn and then set up some sort of like shard shop.
Huh. I think one other thing that's kind of tangentially related to what you were talking about is we were thinking of setting up bots that would be along the outline of the wall, and they would actually notify us if anything came near, or they'd be equipped with like rescue scanners, so they would be able to detect if anyone was in range of like 100 tiles or something like that.
Yeah, so our plan, we had a lot of plans for if the wall was completed. We were going to just get a ton of bots. So if the wall was completed, then that would mean that Slippy would have to at least break one wall before teleporting in. So that would give us like a few hours to track him down and kill him. But we needed to know where he was. So we were actually going to make probably a ton more accounts. They would be just surveillance bots. So we could switch between them and just see everywhere outside of the wall and just like cycle around and make sure that Slippy's not breaking any wall anywhere before like sending in a higher level account to just kill him. So that's what our plan was, to intercept Slippy at the monument if the wall was finished and if he actually got there. I actually don't know if he's there even yet. If he's made it to 0-0.
I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Slippy, if you're listening to this, I hope you appreciate how much we wanted to kill you. But yeah, I think that's like pretty well every major point from the whole thing. Again, there's just so much stuff to talk about. There's so many little things that we left out that we
Yeah.
considered and all that. But that's pretty much every major hidden thing that we haven't talked about yet. So any last points, anyone?
I think Meep was saying, we weren't recording, that we kind of had a debate early on about like if we were going to do right angles around the mountains or if we were going to trace the mountains exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Because what we did is we kind of boxed in the mountains and we had to like trace exactly where the walls were going to go using PFG's Map Explorer. But we weren't sure if we wanted to box them in or if we wanted to trace around them exactly. And maybe you can kind of talk about that if you want to.
Yeah, so I think it was me and Bram who wanted to go on the outline, and then the rest of people wanted to box around them. And I mean, yes, it would have been most efficient to go around the outline, but I definitely agree now that boxing around them just made it a lot simpler and kind of just easier to visualize our progress. But yeah.
Yeah, so I think the thing that worried me about having it go on an outline is I felt like there was a lot of room for error. So we could because even with our boxy method, there were a few times where we made it so there was actually a place where you could teleport through. And I feel like there would be like thousands of places where that could be, or that could potentially happen, where we could accidentally make a spot that could be teleported through.
Yeah, because it's really hard to measure certain distances when all the lines are all squiggly all over the place.
Yeah. I think other than that, is there anything else? I know I'm gonna think of 1,000 things we didn't talk about right as we hit end recording, but
Yeah, I think that just speaks to how much we were involved in this.
I could also mention that when I got to the corner to get a shard, well, at the time the monument in the corner was broken, and yeah, that was a whole thing too. So you couldn't actually get the shard from the monument because it would crash the game. And so the developer, Droga dude, would whoever got to the monument, he would just give them the shard. And when I got there, I don't know what happened, but I guess he accidentally gave me 2. And I didn't. Yeah, I didn't say anything about it. But once I got back up,
Yeah, because why would you?
yeah. So I actually just gave the extra shard to Meep because, yeah, hopefully it does something to make up for the killing you twice.
Oh yeah, Meep, how's More Client treating you?
Okay, well, I never got it to work because as soon as you had released it, that's when he updated it, so it
Oh,
hasn't been working.
okay. I'll have to update that for you. See if we can get you back on the leaderboard. So
Yeah.
I can work on that after this. But I think that's mainly everything. Anything else to add, guys?
Oh, you know something that's huge that I completely forgot to talk about? We need to talk
What?
about Shepard.
Oh yeah, you're right. Shoot, that's actually a good thing to mention at the end. So we decided to call our group the Wood Chippers. We had a lot of name ideas. But I figured that the Wood Chippers was a good idea because of our wood cutting bots.
Originally, I wanted to do something like Star Wolf because
Yeah.
Slippy's part of Star Fox. I don't know if there's any video game nerds out there, but yeah, it's funny. Trust me.
But we decided to call ourselves the Wood Chippers. And I, took a lot of restraint to not recommend the name the Lawnmowers, but I feel like that would be way too overused. But I decided to call my bots. First I called my bots just like Chipper 0, Chipper 1, Chipper 2, Chipper 3. And the reason I did that was that so I could easily log into all of them really fast. So I didn't have to type a wood chipper each time. I could just type chipper. And that's when Taragadu noticed who is Chipper and why does he have 9 accounts?
Yeah,
I actually had 10
the
at the
whole
time.
meme started with that message.
And then I think Logic made the Discord account and we made the profile a picture of Ruffles chips. And that's that. Now we've captured the hearts of the Travelers community of this amazing chipper player.
Yeah, something we kind of figured out was we could give Chipper a personality almost because it's like this hive mind being that responds to it's like this collective consciousness, and it's operating with like some kind of mysterious objective that people could speculate about.
So that way, if that kind of even worked in our favor too, because if people did find the wall and they found 9 chipper bots, they wouldn't necessarily put the 2 and 2 together that it's us trying to stop Slippy. They would think, okay, there's some guy building a wall around spawn, but they wouldn't think, okay, Super QGS, Meepcom, Logic Mage, Brambley, and Alekaetor are building a wall around spawn.
Yeah,
We
it's
can
like
kind of project that.
It's like some kind of mysterious organization that's working in the shadows. But yeah, that's how Chipper came to be. If anyone, yeah, basically, get wood. Wood chippers get wood. Chipper is short for wood chipper, thus Chipper.
And Ruffles is a type of chips.
Ruffles.
Oh yeah, that too.
They're pretty good. Apparently, Logic keeps getting Ruffles ads because he Googled it to get the image.
Yeah, and I'm eating them and they're okay. So
They're good.
They're good. They're good.
The advertising works, I guess.
True.
Oh, one more thing that I can think of is the wall was almost completely deleted, which was pretty scary.
Oh yeah, it was. We were on the verge of deletion. What's funny is that it wasn't even our fault. Well, I mean, it was kind of our fault, but not really. It was indirect.
He was just like, "Why have 5,000 walls been placed?" Or like, he was like, out of like, I think there was like less than 100 walls that we didn't place, or something like that. Like, there were not many other walls in the world that we had put down like 90% of all the walls in the world, and they were all within 200 of spawn. And so he was saying like, okay, I'm gonna have to probably delete the wall. And no one put this together, which kind of amazed me. But I was like, hey, Taraga dude, can you friend me so I can DM you? And no one realized that, hey, maybe Super QGS has the chipper accounts. But I messaged him and I talked about the wall for a bit, and he ended up actually not deleting the wall, at least until new players complain. If people start complaining about the wall, then it probably will be deleted. So that's why we need to make sure to keep each axis open.
Yeah, the main reason he kind of called attention to it in the first place was there were some issues with the memory. So some events would actually, they kind of build up, and then that's why the server kept crashing and crashing. And then the wall was kind of related to that because the bots were going out and activating all the houses and stuff. So the wall itself wasn't causing any problems with the server, but the act of making the wall was. So that specific issue is fixed. And then he kind of turned his attention to the wall and said, yeah, well, maybe we should do something about this. But what's funny is that I kind of like to imagine Shrugged getting home from vacation and going like, oh man, I can't wait to see what's been going on with the Travelers community. And then suddenly there's all this stuff about a wall and all this stuff been crashing. And then he's like, oh, I gotta work on this patch again. But yeah, the wall is still there to this day.
We've got a map of it. Oh, that was a pain to make. I'm gonna try to release the script that I used to do that, but it's honestly, it's kind of just it's not fun to work with.
It's jank.
Basically, so I made a script that would take everything within a certain coordinate range of 0, 0 and convert it into text that would be stored in an array, and then convert that to a string. And then I could like put that into another thing. But basically, I could scan I could go everywhere around 0, 0, and it could turn into a map. However, the server crashed twice while I was doing that. So I had 3 pieces of maps that I had to stitch together, and it was a pain. I was up way too late trying to get that to work, but I got it done, and it looks pretty good. There's only a few mistakes in it. I think there's one part where it didn't actually save anything other than the terrain. So towards the bottom, there's actually more walls. It looks like there's a hole in the wall, but there's actually not. And then there's a small place where there's some question marks because I guess I didn't go in that area. But other than that, I think it turned out really cool.
Yeah, for what it is, like, this is the first kind of world download sort of thing that's been made, so it's very impressive.
Thank you. Anything else to say?
I don't think so.
All right.
Yeah, we should probably wrap up.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Travelers podcast. This is our second episode, and we're still trying to get into the swing of things, but we're working out a schedule. I think we're getting better at this kind of thing. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.